Any more clapping you get them to do, they're going to want me off stage. But a very good morning, everyone. A pleasure to be here. Samir and his 3AI team always makes it feel like you're coming for the Oscars. So thank you, Samir. And a very warm welcome to all of you. I must say, one is envious of the roles that all of you in the data space are in today. And we'll talk about that through the day. We are sitting in what is called the GCC street of the nation, in case you didn't realize it. We grumble and curse ORR for all the reasons better known. But today we are sitting in what is truly the GCC street or the GCC capital, speaking about a subject that is the most significant one impacting not just GCCs but enterprises globally. So while Samir very eloquently took us through various elements, reiterating the context, I'm going to get in a little more of a deep dive, setting the context for the day. But we're going to talk a little about, and I cannot help but zoom out before we zoom into the theme. And let us together zoom out and reflect on the world around us and what makes this event, this theme, the topic, your role, the subject matter on hand so relevant. So let's indulge me as we zoom out a bit before we get into the details of the session today. Navigating global headwinds. When you open the newspapers every morning, firstly, most people are exhausted seeing about, and like Samir called out, hearing about GCC events. There is one every other day. The other big trend is you don't know what else the papers in the morning are going to hold for you. What are some of the new triggers? And we are sitting amidst a global context where there's a huge degree of uncertainty. We're going to talk about the macroeconomic uncertainties, and it's known to all of you. Look at the world around us. Look at what we see over there, whether it is inflation rates, rate uncertainties. If you look at trade imbalances, a whole host of things, currency fluctuations. Important to understand, especially for those of you in the GCC space, what are individual countries grappling with, because each of that has a solution that we in India can provide. So let's kind of spend a minute thinking about that. Geopolitical shifts, significant. I mean, if you look at the powerhouses, the power centers globally, they are shifting. The new alliances being forged at the global international arena are changing. If you look at protectionist policies, they're getting even stricter. As we sit and look at all of this, let's not forget, over the last few months, what are two significant events that the GCC community has been concerned by? And let me see if you want to call out anything there. Anything that comes to mind? Sorry? Hire Act, yes, absolutely. Halting international relocation of employment. How significant is that? Let's remind ourselves, GCCs, it may be a big buzz today. It's been around for 3 decades in some form or the other, evolving at a very rapid pace, but it's not new. But what is the Hire Act threatening to do? It can be quite significant. It's going to slap a significant tariff on offshoring and work that gets done by service providers and by GCCs. So it's significant. Anything else? Anything on global mobility that we're concerned about or that we're happy about? The H-1B rules and how that is changing. Some concerns, but at a broader level, there is an opportunity sitting there. And we're going to talk a little about how do you read through those headwinds and what could potentially be tailwinds, because it's significant, and we will come very quickly to why data and AI is going to be at the heart of it all. Last, not the least, are the digital disruptions that we are seeing, and that we're going to talk about it through the day, so I don't need to call it out. Samir touched upon the 5 elements in the 5x3 of the event, and each of those 5 elements is significant. So we're going to spend the day actually deliberating on it, and I'm not going to spend time on it. But clearly, evolution is no longer a choice, it is a mandate. This model has silently been evolving Today, a lot more visible, and the evolution that's up ahead of us is going to change things. When we stand on this stage and congregate as a fraternity in 2 years, believe you me, the model is going to look very different. So 2 years, not far away, but that's the pace at which it's changing. So as we look at this GCC model, a model that continues to evolve, let's remind ourselves that the global headwinds are putting traditional models under pressure. To spend a minute on it, the Hire Act, if that tariff is to come in, GCCs need to get even more efficient, even more effective than ever before. If you are a GCC who's doing low-end offshore work, you're going to be under threat. There is no way you're going to be able to counter the 25% tariff. So there is an urgency to evolve that model, to move up that maturity curve, to be doing increasingly more high-end work. So clearly, there is going to be pressure, and the writing is on the wall. So let's wake up and appreciate what that means for us. New imperatives and expectations. What does this mean? If you think about it, at one level, the agility and the demands on the global enterprise are unique. Global enterprises are reeling from top line and bottom line pressures, from regulatory challenges, from technology threats. And they miss the agility that they require to drive that change and transformation. And GCCs are at the core of it. So as my title said, Advantage GCCs. GCCs can truly take the lead in leveraging AI to drive the transformation. And Gen AI is clearly reshaping work. It is questioning fundamentals of how work gets done. There are lots of implications of it which we will deliberate through the day. But at the core, and let's hence get to my next point here, to say that today when we look at this, GCCs are poised to ride these tailwinds and drive the AI-led transformation. So what are we saying? Oh, sorry, I meant to, yeah. So if we look at this, we're actually talking about a double disruption. You could look at the downsides of it from a disruptive perspective, or you can look at how are you going to take advantage of this opportunity before us. Quite often I do get asked, is the GCC window shrinking because it's going to be less headcount intensive? As Gen AI plays a bigger role, you're going to need fewer people. So what's going to happen to the GCC model? Is the India shining story short-lived? Truth be told, and those of you who deal with it on a day-in, day-out basis, you recognize two things. A, the power of what we're going to unlock if we leverage this right, and what needs to be done before the solution is truly scalable. How many of our POCs are actually scalable at a global enterprise level today? Very few, a handful. Promising shoots, but there's a lot of fixing to be done at a core data infrastructure plumbing level before you ride the AI highways. And that's the opportunity before GCCs. We'll talk about it. So there is disruption, but there is an opportunity. And we'll spend a minute talking about how GCCs are poised to actually leverage that, because I believe this is what is significant. At the first, like you can see, you are sitting in the cockpit of the organization where you're driving end-to-end processes. Your ability to take that end-to-end view, to drive and embed workflows within those processes across the global enterprise. I tell you, many of your global organizations, including the HQ, don't have the view that you do because you pull it across the global footprint. And that is quite significant. Stemming from that is data visibility and visibility across that value chain. We cannot and should not undermine this because it is significant. This is not about looking at slivers of data because that impacts scalability of solutions. So how ready are you? If you are an organization that is still processing elements of a process, you need to quickly move to an end-to-end visibility and an end-to-end view before you can actually get the magic of Gen AI to work for you. So it is significant. The third one is agile and scalable operating models, which is the fundamental shift in the GCC model and the way things are done today. If you look at a GCC setup 10 years ago or maybe 5 years ago, very different from the new digitally native GCCs that are being set up in today's context. They're coming with a very purposeful vision of what they want to achieve, what are the outcomes they want to drive. And that is quite significant in terms of the role it can play to impact the global enterprise. There is flexibility, there is agility. I will come to another point on how you're leveraging the ecosystem to drive outcome. Co-located across a functional talent pool, the access to talent and what you have is again like no other part of your global organization can enjoy. Let's remind ourselves all of that. And these are all elements that go into the unique vantage point that GCCs are in. Last not the least is access to ecosystem and partners. The GCC model enjoys the benefit of being truly a hybrid model. GCCs today do not come in with a view to do it all themselves. They do it very effectively, collaborating with ecosystem partners, tech service providers, plugging in the innovative startups into their ecosystem, and that's what makes the model truly effective. So if you look at all of these dimensions, think about it for a minute, which other part of your global organization can deliver to the promise of what AI and Gen AI promises? You are in that unique position, and that's why when you connect the dots now between those macroeconomic trends, the global headwinds that your global organization is reeling from, to the position you're in, here's where you need to take advantage of that situation. Now, here's where I'm going to, a little bit of a surprise. The good news is most of you have your phones in your hand, and you are anyway toggling between that and whatever else. But I'm going to request you to indulge me a bit here. You know, I thought as context setting, it would be super relevant for all of you to get a sense of what is the context in the room. How are different organizations who are represented here today, where are they in their journey? So please, may I request you to use this QR code, take your phones out, let's do a very quick pulse check because it will give you all a sense of what's the mood in the room today, where are you today, what are the others thinking, and in some sets truly sets the context for the day ahead of us. Give me a thumbs up once some of you have managed to get in, please. Okay, super. I'm going to keep it there for another 30 seconds, and then I'm going to put up a question at a time, and I will request my colleagues at the console here to help me toggle. Please do not display results until we have a good representation. Like you know, those who've done Menti, one response influences another. So we will hide the results until we have a good quorum responding here. So with that, sounds like a very basic question. Some of you guys who are heading data sciences for your organization may say, what a stupid question is this? But I recognize that we have a very diverse segment of the market today, and people could be at different stages. So let's hear you quickly give us a sense. Can you see the first question on your Mentimeter? So tell us where you are. How many of you have yet to start? Have you got a shortlisted set of use cases, POCs conducted, or actually begun to build enterprise-grade applications? Okay, yeah. So let's toggle and see what our audience here today has to say. All right, okay. So what you can see there clicking is the responses. So we'll give it quick few more seconds and then stop. But like you can see, there is merit in a question like this too, because there are a bunch of organizations who have yet to start or some who've shortlisted use cases. I like to remind players, we ran a report with NASSCOM last year, which spoke of the emerging risks for GCCs. In that, emerging tech, by the way, was the second risk. The top risk was what? Any guesses? Talent. Yes. Ironical, talent and technology, the very reason why why the gold rush to India, they are top risks too. But if you look at technology, why is it a risk? It's a risk when you rush into it because of some kind of FOMO. When you're not thought it through very deliberately and you're jumping to adopt technologies, hence taking your cost base up but struggling to get yield. So it's an important one. But the good part is that there's a majority are in, like you can see, and it's no surprises, are in a POC stage, a fairly large number who've moved to building enterprise grade applications, and that's good news. So if you look at it, this tells us that we're moving and we're progressing very rapidly. By the way, and I don't mean to sound, put a dampener, I'm also aware, I'm talking to an interested group here. You all are the doers, you are driving that change. I would love to see a similar response when I ask this to your business stakeholders, and I hope we're in the same page there. So let's kind of move to the next, and thank you for that. 4 very quick questions, and then I will quickly wrap this up. The next one is, which business functions have seen the most AI use cases and adoption? Simple one, this is across functions. Tell us where you are and what that looks like. So we will toggle, though I did want the results held until we were, but let's go with what we have. So this is just to get a quick pulse check of where is the most work happening and where is that impact being felt. Sales and marketing, supply chain, finance. Interesting, right? And again, no surprises. There are lots of reports in the market, so this is not new. What is interesting, and I will call it out, is lots of sales and marketing POCs, but if you look at how many GCCs are actually doing hardcore sales and marketing support from here, that's a much smaller number. So it's fascinating that these use cases are being built when the processes itself have not started getting delivered from here. That kind of tells us a few things, but it's interesting. Similarly, both these two, sales, marketing, supply chain, the scope and the number of GCCs doing that is much smaller, but the impact could be large. At one level, you could read that to say that irrespective of whether you're delivering it, you're still making impact. But if you look at finance, audit, risk management, HR, this is actually where the maximum GCCs already have these processes. So I'm intrigued as to what is stopping us from driving impact in those areas which are already here. So in some sense, it kind of reiterates that we're just scratching the surface and there's a long way to go. I'm going to move to the third question, which is, how would you rate your organization's maturity in measuring value from AI initiatives? I recognize that we could have a whole session on the definition of value, but read it as you see it and give me your response. No formal value realization methodology in place. Value potential measured at the beginning but not tracked. Framework in place, inconsistently used. Framework defined and rigorously tracked for value tracking. This is important because amidst all the noise about Gen AI, use cases, costs and value, yesterday there was a report that Schneider released on LinkedIn which said, would we actually shut down the US power grid given the AI use cases that the industry is working on? So there is a huge challenge in what it's costing us, the power that's being consumed. So we better realize and understand what's the value being delivered. Okay. Interesting. And here is where I say to my team, this is why we need the results hidden before we are ready to display. So unfortunately, we didn't do that, but you get a sense of where it is. My moot point to you would be, if the majority of you are do believe that you have a framework and value is being rigorously measured, you're in a great place. So kudos to you if you're there, as it seems to suggest over here. From our experience, there are many others where that value is being hugely challenged and questioned. So hand on heart, I would request you to still reflect on some of these questions. Yeah? Okay, let's move to our last question, which is, how would you rate your organization's maturity in measuring value from AI? No, sorry, my bad. What are the biggest challenges? No session is complete unless we talk about this. Though I must say you all are doing pretty well on the previous, I'm not sure how many challenges you all have then, but what do you see as the biggest challenges? leadership buy-in and support, lack of skills, siloed poor quality data, unclear ROI, and business case, change management, user adoption, regulatory or ethical concerns. Some of this could vary from one industry to another, but for the most part, I think they're applicable. We'll give it a few seconds and then ask the team to show us the results. But these are important. To a point that Samir made in the opening, we're scratching the surface. The opportunity is massive. But we need to fix a few things before we get ready. Okay, let's see the results. All right. Okay, so if you look at this, the maximum challenges are in the change management, user adoption, equally on lack of skills, which again reminds us that talent continues to be the top challenge that we're all trying to grapple with. Unclear ROI or business case is a good 25%. By the way, this is the same audience who just said value is being measured and tracked rigorously. So if you see what I mean, there is a little bit of a contradiction there. Siloed and poor quality data, if you have 28% of you saying that, think about how are you actually then delivering value. So it's interesting, right? These questions stand alone say something, and when you start connecting the dots, they interpret something quite different. Nonetheless, this is just for us to be conscious. Leadership buy-in and support, it's interesting that we see only 7%, which is great. But the question to be asked there is, think about the clarity you have from HQ on what you all are expected to achieve. And then look at leadership support in that context. Anyway, this was just a quick sense to get you all to think about where you stand, where are you in this journey. And with that, I'm going to move to the last couple of slides that I have here. I'm not going to spend time on these. These are 3 use cases, and you're going to talk through the day of many, many others. GCCs are a horizontal. It's a model that straddles industry. Like you can see, we have healthcare life sciences here. We're talking about an energy player. We're talking about a financial services player. We're talking about use cases that range from someone who's looking at supply chain efficiency and driving impact like never before. And these are, by the way, enterprise level implementation. So these are not POCs. These are enterprise level applications that have actually begun to see the benefits kick in. Okay, we're talking about a whole host of areas, from customer experience to supply chain to inventory levels. And like you heard, the biggest use cases are in the sales and marketing area or in the supply chain. But I want you all to think about the areas in your scope of work and what's stopping you from delivering impact there. Because the majority of the GCCs today are looking at areas around technology, finance, HR, procurement, and many others. But we're only kind of scratching the surface, and the next few years are going to be significant and phenomenal in terms of what we can achieve. With that, I'm going to come to the last slide, which I think are important, and the way we see these success factors play out. I'm going to just chat about it very quickly. Strategic alignment and empowerment, in my mind, is the most significant element that defines the difference a GCC can make. So how are you aligning the vision of what you're trying to accomplish with the global organization's KPIs and outcomes? If there is an alignment, you're going to see the journey through. If there is an alignment with your tech roadmap, it's going to make a lot of sense. But if you are on your own trying to create sandbox environments where you are testing and piloting use cases, I'm afraid it may not necessarily connect and pan out the way you want to. So it's really, really important. Use case prioritization speaks to the same point. Data governance, technology stack, we're going to talk about this through the day. But like I said earlier, we have a long way to go to get the fundamentals in place. Data cleanup, data governance, your data architecture, and those are all areas that you know much, much better than me, but that's the opportunity of what you've got to fix. Before you look at AI use cases, do you have the empowerment to fix those? Are your MDM COEs sitting here in India trying to make that very fundamental difference? Are your governance models defined to empower you to drive that change that you want to see? So it's quite significant, and those are aspects that I'd encourage you to chat about through the day. Talent and partnerships, again, capabilities. We saw the slide, we heard you talk about talent as a continuing challenge. Do not straddle yourself with high headcount costs. The model allows you to collaborate. It allows you to borrow from what is our transient gig workforce model that works beautifully. So are you taking advantage of it or are you not? And that's going to be critical. Don't hire the 20 data scientists. I hear clients of ours say, we have them, but we're not sure if they're being deployed in the best way. Why straddle yourself with that cost before you realize or understand clearly what you're doing and whether you're empowered to do it? Value realization, yes, we heard you all say you have it. I would still urge you to go think about it and make sure you're delivering the value that you truly can. Responsible AI, I don't think this event is complete without a lot of talk about it because it is scary. The possibilities are scary. So do you have an equal focus on digital trust and all elements that need to ensure this is secure, sustainable, and resilient? If not, please think about it. And the last point ties back to the first, which is the culture, the support, and the sponsorship. So I did want to put this out because as we, in the last few minutes, gone over the global scenario, the opportunity before us, I think it's significant. So today's event, as we come together under the 3AI umbrella, you all are in that very, very pivotal role to drive the change, to make the change and deliver the outcomes that the global organization truly needs you to deliver. So let's kind of think about the essentials that need to come together. Let's move away from simple use case approach. We're past that. We now need this to be scalable across the enterprise. So let's focus on some of that and let's work together to actually drive the change and create models that are robust and resilient. With that, I'm going to bring this to a wrap. What we do have is another QR code for you to scan. We're going to be working closely with 3AI to actually create a model where we track this at an industry level to look at maturity levels, to look at how ready you are, what is it going to take for you to move up the readiness curve. This is in initial stages, this will keep evolving as the trends around us keep evolving, but could be a good start for us all to exchange, learn from one another. With that, I'm going to bring this to a wrap. Thank you for indulging me in the Mentimeter, and I wish you all a very, very productive day. Please immerse yourself in the sessions, connect the dots, look at the 2-3 takeaways that you want to walk away from this event with, and you're going to be that much richer. So have a great day, everyone, and thank you so much.